You walk past the corner store where your grandmother bought milk, and it's an insurance office now. You drive 10 minutes for fresh vegetables because the grocery store closed when the zoning board designated your neighborhood residential only. No commercial allowed. The street you grew up on has no intersection where life happens, just a long asphalt ribbon connecting garages. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you wonder, was it always like this? Did villages, towns, ancient cities function this way? The short answer is no. And the pattern hiding beneath that answer explains more about the boarded-up downtowns, the sprawling suburbs, the empty main streets than any economic report ever will. Ancient villages did not have zoning. They did not need it. The Greek settlement of Megalopolis, described by Strabo around 24 before the Common Era, was built along the slopes of the Peloponnese. Houses set at angles, alleys following the natural drainage of rainwater, no straight line anywhere. The plan, if it deserves that word, simply emerged from what worked. The baker lived next to the grain storage. The weaver lived above the market stall. The smith worked near the road. Heat and noise, contained by the building itself, not by a regulation 7 meters of separation. That is the pattern the ancient world took for granted. The village organized itself around function, not around categories. No one separated the residential from commercial because the people doing the work were the same people sleeping in the rooms above. The Roman approach was different, but it preserved the same principle. Vitruvius wrote around 30 before the Common Era that a city should have a grid, streets at right angles, a cardo running north-south, a decumanus east-west. But within that grid, the use of each building was fluid. A Roman insula, the apartment block, had shops facing the street on the ground floor, residences on the upper floors, and sometimes a workshop or a small manufactory in the back. The street was a continuous front of human activity: a cobbler, a barber, a wine cellar, a baker, a weaver. You could walk from your door to the forum without passing a single blank wall or a single gate that separated you from your neighbor. That mixed-use density was not a bug in the ancient city. It was the operating system. Cities that followed this pattern survived centuries. Cities that abandoned it often evaporated. You just saw the operating system. It survived for centuries because it matched how people actually live. If you want to recognize the same pattern hiding in your own neighborhood, subscribe, because we are about to trace exactly where modern planning overwrote it. In the comments, name one street in your city where you still feel that ancient rhythm, a place where the bakery and the barber share a block with apartments above. Modern zoning is the opposite. It categorizes, it separates, it legislates distance. The first comprehensive zoning ordinance in the United States was enacted in New York City in 1916, a direct response to the skyscraper boom and the fear that tall buildings blocked light and air from the street. But the real shift happened a decade later, in 1926, when the Supreme Court ruled on Euclid versus Ambler and declared that zoning was constitutional. The village of Euclid, Ohio, had passed an ordinance dividing the town into 3 use classes: single-family residential, apartment residential, and commercial. A landowner sued, arguing it violated his property rights. Ambler Realty owned a strip of land along Euclid Avenue that it planned to sell to industrial buyers. The village's zoning law blocked that sale. The court upheld the law. Justice Sutherland wrote in the majority opinion that a zoning ordinance could be a legitimate exercise of police power, the government's right to regulate for public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. The word welfare opened the door. Within 2 decades, every major American city had a zoning code. By 1950, more than 4/5 of municipalities with populations over 10,000 had one. Here is what nobody noticed at the time. The ancient city worked because the people who lived in it were the people who made it functional. The zoning that replaced that system was written by planners and lawyers and real estate developers. The purpose of the new code was not to produce a good city, it was to prevent the bad city, the tenement slum, the fire hazard, the street that blocked the sun. But prevention is not creation. You can prohibit the worst without enabling the best. By the 1960s, Jane Jacobs had documented exactly what the new system produced. In her observational study of 200 New York intersections, published in 1961 in The Death and Life of Great American Cities, she found that mixed-use neighborhoods had lower crime and higher economic activity than single-use zones. The neighborhood where the cobbler lived above the shop and the butcher shared a wall with the grocer generated more foot traffic, more eyes on the street, more spontaneous exchange. The neighborhood where every building had one function and each function was separated from the others by a zone boundary produced surveillance gaps. empty sidewalks, high vacancy. Jacobs was not attacking the idea of planning. She was attacking the belief that a city could be designed from above by people who did not live there, using categories that didn't match how human beings actually move through space. Lewis Mumford, 2 years earlier in The City and History, had traced the same pattern across 2 millennia. Medieval quarters, the Butcher's Street, the Tanner's Row, the Baker's Lane, were not zoned by class or by income. Rich and poor lived on the same thoroughfare. The building that housed the merchant's family also held his inventory, his office, his workshop. The poor lived in the attic. The rich lived on the first floor. The street itself was a market. The city was a living organism, not a machine with separate compartments. Mumford wrote, "The separation of functions that zoning enforced was the death sentence of the organic city." He did not mince words. That phrase, death sentence, is not hyperbole. It is a forensic finding. If you are ready to see the evidence case by case, subscribe, because we are about to examine the bodies. The downtowns that zoning killed. In the comments, tell me the name of one city you have watched die. One main street you remember from childhood that is empty now. Now watch what happens when you apply this logic to a modern ghost town. In 2023, 1/3 of all downtown retail space in mid-sized American cities stood vacant. A report by the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy documented that 60% of municipalities still maintain single-family-only zoning, a legacy of the 1920s wave that was originally written to keep apartment buildings out of wealthy neighborhoods. The resulting pattern is a city where you can live for a year without ever walking past a functional neighborhood shop, where the building that housed a grocery store in 1965 is now a daycare, a church, or an empty shell, where the only new construction is either luxury apartments in the core or low-density subdivisions at the periphery, separated from everything by a 4-lane road and a curb cut. This is not an accident. This is the predicted outcome of a system designed to maximize property value and traffic flow at the expense of community resilience. The ancient village optimized for walking distance. A Roman civilian could buy bread, repair a sandal, sell a basket of figs, and be home within 15 minutes. Your suburban parent today drives 2 hours a day to work, drives 45 minutes to the supermarket, drives 20 minutes to drop a child at school, drives 10 minutes to the nearest hardware store. The village had it right. We had more: cars, roads, zoning codes, construction materials, engineering talent, and we broke it. The research confirms this. In 2021, a study of 4,500 households published in Transportation Research Part D found that residents of mixed-use zones walked 23% more and reported 15% higher life satisfaction than their single-family zoned counterparts. The numbers are not subtle, the effect is large, and it holds across income brackets, across age groups, across city sizes. Another study, this one in the Journal of Urban Economics, examined over 1,200 metropolitan areas and found that cities where at least 30% of the land was single-family only had housing prices 27% higher than comparable cities with mixed-use allowances. The scarcity that zoning creates is not an accident. It is a lever. It rewards the landowner who sits on a plot while the rest of the city sprawls outward. Now here is the part that changes everything. The ancient builders did not just build differently, they measured differently. They optimized for a variable modern planners asked how far a person can walk in 5 minutes. That distance, roughly 400 meters, defines the boundary of a healthy neighborhood. Every Roman insula, every medieval parish, every pre-modern village respected that radius. The market was at the center. The church, the well, the meeting hall. Homes clustered within the circle. Shops lined the edge of the walking shed. Modern zoning replaces the 5-minute walk with the 6-lane road. The building you need is not within walking distance because the zoning code forbids the mixture that would put it there. The street you have is not designed for walking because traffic engineers measure level of service for cars, not for people. The distance between your home and the nearest amenity is measured in minutes driven, not minutes walked. You live in a city built by planners who never ask the question ancient builders answered daily. Does this space make life better? Every boarded-up storefront, every sterile sidewalk, every downtown that feels like a museum of failure, these are not accidents. They are the predictable outcome of a system that forgot its purpose. This is the variable that was erased. If you want to understand the single most practical principle you can use to judge any street, any neighborhood, any city, subscribe, because we are going to show you how to read your own block through ancient eyes. In the comments, write the distance from your front door to the nearest place you can buy fresh food. in minutes walked. But here is where it gets personal. If you have ever felt like a stranger in your own city, like the place you grew up in was replaced by something that does not recognize you, you are not wrong. The pattern is real, and understanding it is the first step. The village did not need zoning because the people who lived there decided together what worked. The zoning we have today was written for a different century, a different economy, a different idea of what a city should be, and it is failing. The next time you drive through a suburb with a boarded-up main street, ask yourself, was this planned or did it just die? Because when you know what to look for, you start to see the ancient pattern hiding in plain sight. The places that work, the neighborhoods that feel alive, are the ones that accidentally preserved that 5-minute walking radius, that mixed-use density, that ground floor facing the street. They survived despite the code, not because of it, and understanding why is the first step to knowing where we go from here.